All right. Yeah, let's get into it. This was an all right episode. I've been really enjoying Real Housewives of New York so far. I think that this was really mostly one of the episodes that we often see where they're laying the groundwork for an explosive fight that is still to come. But there was there was some fun moments here. Out of the gate, Sandy, what were your highlights here?
I thought there was a couple of cool moments where you really saw the wealth disparity. There was just a couple comments. Erin had those diamond earrings on, and it was 224,000, and she's like, "That's a down payment on a house." I'm like, "Well, that's also a house and a half in certain neighborhoods in
Yeah.
our city." So just little things where you're like, "Wow." And I mean, I'm not shocked. I know like the market is crazy, especially in the States, et cetera. But it's just like, oh yeah. And similarly, Jessel's 62,000 a year for preschool was a bit of a jaw dropper. And I really, that was one
Yes.
of, yeah. Yeah. So that was a conversation that was awesome between Jessel and her husband. I really enjoyed that. There was some comedic gold there where she asked him, "Are you on any boards other than your fried chicken committee?" He replies,
To be
"It's
fair, the
just,
Street Food Association of New
yes.
York sounds awesome. Even though New York's a
Yeah.
shitty street food city, it does still sound awesome.
I thought that was so funny. It's lovely. I found the discussion about preschools kind of interesting to me as a parent who's just sort of gone through the stressful, never-ending saga of trying to find childcare for my kid. I'm definitely not paying $62K a year for it, but it was challenging to get daycare and decide about preschool, etc. So I kind of had this moment of like, oh, I can relate. And she said something about like, I did it all. My husband has no clue, and like just sort of the gender division of labor there, I can relate to a little bit. But then, of course, when she said the 62K, it kind of went out the window on relatability. So it was that juxtaposition was kind of interesting. And the status thing, because you've heard that
Yeah.
before where it's like, I don't know where, but it's sort of in the cultural sort of understanding that like how you where your kid goes to preschool like determines who your social circle is. I've definitely heard that on other shows somewhere. So that was kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, I've heard that before too. And so this scene, when I saw it, I was like, I always thought that was satire. Like I thought, I get,
Mhm.
your elementary, your primary school, whatever, that being kind of a statusy thing. But even though I'm a parent that has a preschool age child, I just assume that when you see that kind of you see a scene like that where someone's like, "Oh, we got to get into this fancy preschool." I always thought that was satire, and to
Mhm.
see that actually be a legit thing where someone is contemplating spending $62,000 a year for,
For
uh,
coloring.
uh, yeah, for coloring, as Pavitt puts it, it was really really funny. It was shocking.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like see Jessel's argument. Her argument isn't like what the kid's getting out of it. It's like who you're going to meet when you pick the kid up after.
Well, at first
Yeah.
she kind of started with, "Oh, it's going to be amazing, and this is so important for their development," but it quickly streamed into the benefits to
Tom
her
Cruise's
about
kid is there.
meeting Tom
Yeah.
Cruise, etc. So yeah, we'll see. That's a storyline that I'm not interested in. So that's kind of cool. um, and I love the party drama. As you said, Craig, it's kind of setting it up for something nice next episodes. We didn't quite get the follow through here, but love petty arguments about people's crappy parties. That's what I live for on these shows. That's why I'm here. So I don't
Yeah.
need like as I kind of went on last time I was on about you know uh, OC and this whole Shannon, like her relationship being destroyed. And it's like, I don't even really want something that high stakes. I don't actually need someone's relationship to be destroyed. I need someone's party to be like medium ruined by them overreacting to someone doing something like medium rude. That is where it's
Yeah.
at. So yeah.
Okay, the party did look fucking terrible though, right? Like that was so they're like in a
And what
bank with like galaxy lights on the walls and
Yeah.
then just listening to the worst wedding speeches you've ever heard in your life.
and like why
Oh.
can't she have food? She's been already like totally flamed for not giving food at her last event. Like have a lot of
Yeah.
food, Erin. Come on.
did you really not at least have one tin of caviar and a tube of pretzels you could offer people? Like,
It was a very disappointing like dollar to fun ratio. It was it
with all
looked
those sponsors behind it too, where did their money go? Just on galaxy lights on the bank walls?
yeah. I did appreciate that a girl's like hair caught on fire.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
I would
That
have liked to
was
have gotten better footage of that, but that's pretty sweet.
yeah.
They did their best with what they had though. They really gave us the slow-mo like crappy footage version of that, but wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the infographic overlay. It was play by play with the X's. um yeah, I thought that this was a really good party. Like you said, it had all the qualities that you want to see in terms of it being kind of shitty and being medium ruined, and just enough to like piss someone off because they clearly spent a lot of money on something. Um, and yeah, I think everyone kind of used it to their advantage. I was very happy to see Sai leave early without saying goodbye to Erin. She has really been the one member of this cast so far that I feel like has not really found a groove or really brought much to the table for me. Um, but now I feel like seeing her have this pattern of being a little bit entitled and like piecing out early and hypocritical, I'm kind of buying Sai a little bit more. I think that this was a little bit better of an episode for her in my books in terms of what I'm looking for in a housewife.
Mhm.
But yeah, for me the standout for this episode was still Jessel. I think um I don't know. I feel like she is giving a lot more than I was expecting out of her off of the premiere and the early episodes. I think, we didn't see Jessel the villain so much this time. We saw her kind of at peace and still being, giving us an interesting personal story. We got her being kind of playful and building some dynamic with Brynn, and yeah, I was very impressed again with Jessel and what she's doing here. There was a moment where there was a scene between Brynn and Jessel at like the stylist, and I liked how Jessel was kind of framed the peacemaking that she did with Erin in the past episode, um, and she was also just put it out there like, Erin's got a problem with Sai, Erin's got a problem with everyone. I think the common denominator is Erin, and kind of like
Mhm.
flipping that back onto her, but not in a way that was so um, outwardly aggressive that it's going to start something that like Brynn is it's going to give Brynn something that she can do something with if she wants to stir up shit. It's a piece of information that she can use later, but it's not something that is so like big that she has to immediately run back to Erin where, you know, otherwise she's going to be like, well, why didn't you bring that to me immediately? Right. Like that's,
Yeah.
it gives her a football to run with that she doesn't immediately need to, hand off in order to make something happen. So I like this being put out there in the air, and I'm liking that things are kind of turning in on Erin because
Yeah.
she's another person that has kind of not been giving a lot, I think. So at least if she's able to be a fun target, that's going to add some fun for me with this cast.
I don't agree. I don't
Yeah.
agree about Erin. I think she's doing a lot. I mean, she's throwing so many bad social events, never giving anyone food,
That's
getting
true.
getting really upset about everything everyone says about her. So I have to disagree on that one.
Yeah.
I
She's
think
making sure
Uba.
everybody's hangry at her events.
Yeah. She's
Yeah,
setting that
that's-
up perfectly. I think Uba,
Yeah,
as
that's-
lovely as she
that's true.
is the least working housewife for me on this so far.
Heresy.
She does hate jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fair enough. I said I respect that. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Like, I think Uba has been bringing kind of a fun factor. She's giving Sonia Morgan. Like, I feel like she's this cast Sonia, just kind of this very whimsical and injecting the fun, not necessarily causing a lot of drama, but making
That's
every
okay.
scene that she's in a lot of fun. Yeah.
You have to have that balance, so I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah, I still love her for her ethereal weirdness and just how she seems to have arrived on Earth a week ago, and that's I just love how everything about her is everything she says and does is just slightly bizarre. So that's I'm always gonna root for the weirdo. So.
And now that we know that she has a hot sauce, her tagline is a little less bad, right? Maybe. Is she the secret ingredient in her own hot sauce? I don't know. I was.
Oh.
Yeah. I love the tagline, but mostly like I'm like I said, because it's straight down the middle. It has the word darling in it, like she's fucking Mae West in the 1930s. It is so classic. It's just like very straightforward, classic, old school.
It's true.
But yeah, you're right. It does make more sense now that I know that she's somewhat involved in the food industry.
Dylan, what were your highlights from this episode?
I'm also excited by the possibility of Jessel building an anti-Erin coalition. I would be there for that, and I want to see them turn on Erin, because I'm also a little tired of Erin. I find that she's just like her jokes aren't funny, and that there's just she hasn't done anything like wrong yet, but there's just like kind of enough of like a whiff of entitlement and just being like kind of bland and unfunny that I'm just kind of not amused by her presence. And between like in the conflict between her and Jessel, I 110% agree with Jessel. Like, just like giving a slight like razzing to your friends is like what you should be doing, and I do think it's normally kind of bullshit when people are like, oh well, where I come from, that's not a big deal, but like it's fair that Jessel is English, and I don't know if you guys have any English friends, but that's what you do. English people are always constantly fucking insulting each other and calling each other fucking cunts and shit, and it's fun. That's how people should be. It's nice to insult your friends all the time, and if other people are too like humorless in their American way to enjoy it, well, that's kind of a them issue. So I do like the idea that Jessel is using this as a wedge to like try and get people on her side against Erin. I hope it develops along that path, because I would be even more team Jessel in that sense. I do want to start talking about this shitty party even more, because it was so, these speeches we got were so bad. When you think that those were the clips they chose to present to you in the final cut, like how much shit were they slogging through? And the fact that Abe is using Grateful Dead lyrics, that is like the most cringe thing you could think of. Because seriously, like if it was like quoting like Harry Potter or like, I don't know, Transformers Rise of the Fallen or something, it would at least be like somewhat like nostalgic, age appropriate. But since when do they even make deadheads like under 60? When did that start even existing? Like, why are you a deadhead at your age? And it's just the weirdest thing. It's so bad. And and it's not even funny. He's saying like the blandest things and then being like, yeah, that's a Grateful Dead lyric. Yeah. Like and then Erin being like, yeah, I appreciate you so much, reading blatantly off her phone, but I mostly appreciate the coffee you put on my bedside in the morning.
But
and then Desert like fucking like smiling to the audience, like, isn't that a good one? Like, no, shut up. Jesus Christ. This is the worst. So yeah, I am. And that also made me appreciate Brynn's like very cheap and obvious flirting with everybody, which is something that's been kind of like annoying to me about Brynn. Not that she's like flirting with everybody, that's cool, but just like how like obvious she is, and like just how like simple and straightforward her flirting is. But I like it more in this episode. I'm trying to say nice things about Brynn. My dad told me I have to, but but it is really funny to go to like a really like lame party and then just be like, all right, I'm just gonna like hit on her brother and her husband who she's renewing vows with and her father if I can get him pinned down. Like that's a funny thing to do for me. So even if it's like very obvious, it's still like a funny play. So I respect that a lot.
Totally.
Yeah, I love that she came in like kind of like half baked and like ready to make her own fun, like clearly planning for a bit of a boring party. Yeah, kudos to Brynn for that.
I also just another thing about Brynn, another thing that made me like her more was when like they're trying to like interrogate her about her like 3 engagements that she called off or whatever. And her response was like, it's easier to say yes. I was like, yeah, I understand that. I feel that. I feel like if like if somebody proposed to me that I didn't want to marry, I'd probably be like, yeah, I'll work my way out of this down the line. Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to deal with this right now. So I'll just say yes, and we'll figure a way out further along the line. I could get that.
Totally, fair enough.
Yeah, I think we covered most of my highlights for this as well. Did you guys? Oh, one thing that I think I noticed was that was Jessel wearing the same like dress as Raquel was when she did her like Stadler and Waldorf routine on Vanderpump Rules. She had the big like puffy fringes. It looked very similar.
Wasn't Raquel wearing a pink thing? And wasn't
Jessel?
Jessel
I know
wearing,
what you're talking about. It does. Now that you say that, it does. You know, when I saw Jessel in that, I was like, I think that's her like weird dressing gown. Please let it be her weird dressing gown. And then she showed up at the party with it. I was like, ooh, okay. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, Craig. So I guess it's a look. It's yeah,
it's very 2023. The year of the Scandival. We'll have to do a side by side on here of the graphics and see if it lines up.